Okay, I hope everybody had a great week last week. I know I did. I'm glad to be back with everybody. Back on a regular schedule. We'll have foundations as normal this week, although modified schedule for practice sessions as well as the 8:30 call. Sorry. My brain's not connecting yet. Have not had enough coffee. So, hey, Taz. And we got Tippy and Lacey. We got all kinds of good people on here. Okay, so I wanted to cover a new topic today that hopefully some of this should be very, very intuitive, but I also want to just put it out there as newer agents. Some reminders about working with our fellow other cooperative agents across the table in the other brokerage, and even to a certain extent when we're within our brokerage. Wanted to talk about how to be the agent that other agents want to work with, okay? It's going to be a very simple topic, and I'm sure that each and every one of us has had an experience, or if you haven't had one yet, it's because your brand's spanking new. But if you have had an experience, we'll talk about them a little bit here, and we'll maybe give some stories about working with someone that you had a favorable experience with, and I'm sure there's some examples that we could think of there where you've had an unfavorable experience. Am I right about that? All right, I'm muting. I think I muted somebody because I was getting some background noise. All right, so before we get rolling, anybody have any questions or anything that you want to talk about first thing this morning? Good. All right, so let me share my screen and get things rolling here. Okay. Tell me what y'all are looking at the moment. Why is my screen not seeming to want to work? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing again. Hang on. There we go. Sorry guys, bear with me while I'm relearning how to use my daggum computer today. Okay. Now what are you looking at? Foundation Zoom? Okay.
Yeah, we can see your Zoom.
Thank you. Sorry guys, having one of those kind of days. All right, so Foundation Zoom, be the co-op agent everybody wants to work with. All right, so first thing, so we're just going to cover a handful of rules and kind of just guidelines. The first thing that we need to know about being an agent that everybody wants to work with is, first off, when you're showing properties, always leave showing feedback. Why do you want to leave your showing feedback? That's a question. Looking for some input.
I think it just shows cooperation between agents, and it would probably encourage them to want to engage with you going forward.
I couldn't agree with you more. If you're leaving feedback, you're being a good citizen. It is the proverbial golden rule: do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Now, if you've never had a listing before, let me tell you, especially maybe not in the current market that we're in, which is such a strong seller's market, but when you have a listing and you're having difficulty selling that listing, you are going to eat, sleep, and breathe and live and die by the feedback that you receive, because that is what you're going to use to course correct your marketing scheme. So if you want to get feedback, you have to give feedback. All right. So I am going to encourage everybody, make it a strong point to always leave feedback 100% of the time. I know it is difficult. I know it is challenging. I know it is an administrative burden to come back after showing 6 or 7 houses in a day and sit down and leave 6 or 7 feedbacks, but it is what we need to do, and it is the right thing to do. Okay. Any questions on leaving feedback? Okay. Rule number 2, always acknowledge receipt of any offers, amendments, or any emailed document that you receive. It is so simple to hit reply and say received. That is all that you need to do. Someone took the time to send it to you, so just take a second to leave them, let them know that you received it, and you'll get back to them as soon as possible. I will tell you, especially when I have a listing and offers are coming in, there is a standard reply template within my email feedback that is offer received. I will present to the client, to the seller, and be back in touch soon. That is simply acknowledging the fact that you have a responsibility to present this offer to your seller, and just replying with that should give that listing agent or that buyer's agent the comfort that you're going to present their offer, as opposed to silence on the other end. Okay. You like my little screenshot in there, realtors headshots versus their closing day deal? Who has not walked into a closing and looked at the agent across the way and said, wow, your picture was from 1975. All right. And next, not only are you responding to offers, you're responding to any emails. It is just simple, folks. Respond, say yes, received. It is just that simple. Likewise, answer your phone, return phone calls, and reply to text messages. It is just a common courtesy, folks, and we need to go back to basics. If you are responsive, this is going to make your life a whole lot easier. All right. If an offer is too low, don't ignore it. Respond with some sort of an answer, even if it's just, the seller has elected to pass on your offer, or the seller is reviewing all offers, but has selected an offer that is more favorable than yours. It is very, very simple. All right. This is so key. Present a friendly tone in emails and over the phone. Put a smile in your voice. This is something that we need. I'm gonna stop sharing so you can actually see my face when I tell you this. Okay, this is really, really important. Our business is so unique, you guys. Tell me one other job that is similar to ours where we are adversaries with every other one of the, what's the count now, 50,000 other agents in Metro Atlanta. We're adversaries with 50,000 other, we're in competition with 50,000 other agents in the Metro Atlanta area. But at the same time, until we both have a client, I have a buyer, you have a seller, then we are cooperating brokers. So we're in competition with each other right up until the point where I have a buyer, you have a seller, or vice versa. And then we need to work together. Okay. Closing attorneys that work for, most of us draw parallels between the legal profession and say, okay, we're most like attorneys. I represent my client, he represents his, but they don't necessarily cooperate with each other to get the deal done like we as agents do. Okay, so we need to remember that we're in competition right up until the point where I have a client that wants to buy, you have a client that wants to sell, then we cooperate with each other. Okay, so a lot of agents don't get through this whole competition thing. As soon as the deal comes into play, you still have the mindset that we're adversaries once we go under contract. Not the case. Okay, we are working together at that point. All righty. Okay, so we're working together for the outcome of all of those parties. Provide as much information as you can to any interested parties without compromising your fiduciary duty to your client. Wow. So let's talk about this a little bit. Do you tell others what your current offer is?
No.
Why is that?
Because it's putting your client at like a disadvantage if you tell them that, oh, okay, well, we've got 340 on the table right now, and you know, and you're not supposed to tell them exactly what it is, because you're putting your client at a disadvantage.
Absolutely. If you had said, if you told them, well, our current highest offer is 340, then they're going to give you an offer at what? 341, 342. Whereas if you'd have kept your daggone mouth shut, they might have got a 350.
350, yeah.
You just never know. Those are the things that you've got to think about. All right. So remember your fiduciary responsibility, but at the same time, don't hold anything back. Answer questions honestly wherever it does not have a fiduciary risk to your client. Reveal as much information that is in the disclosures. Don't provide information without verifying that information from the disclosures. Can't tell you how many times I've had a listing where the agent will say, well, is the refrigerator included? I'm not gonna answer that from memory. I'm going to have to go back and verify that information before I give them that answer, because then I'm responsible for the content of that answer. Okay. So you do have a fiduciary responsibility. You've got to remember that, but otherwise provide all the information you can. Okay. All right. So the next order of business, and this is something that you don't need necessarily worry about, but you do need to work closely with the help desk, is post all of the seller's disclosures and notices online. So who here has been frustrated with you're going to prepare an offer and the disclosures are not posted in MLS, and the agent is not doing, what was it, slide number 3, they're not answering their phone and they're not answering their email, and they're not sending you this disclosures. So if you post everything, you're taking that off of the table. You're giving everybody everything that they need to be able to present an offer without having to talk to you necessarily, although they should, without having to reach out to you. There is some agents that actually want people to reach out to them for the lead-based paint disclosure or the seller's property disclosure. I'm more of the mindset of make it all available as much as humanly possible online. All right. So things like the lead-based paint, the community association disclosure, who knows, what's the one disclosure, utility disclosure that's for DeKalb County that nobody else has? The DeKalb County plumbing disclosure, that's a municipality utility district form that is one of the ones that should be in there. Surveys, if you've got them. All of those things, all the background information. If you've got an HOA and you can get your hands on the bylaws and the CC&Rs, by golly, post them. It's going to make everybody's life a whole lot easier. All right. Here is one. I found this online, and I'm not 100% sure I agree with it, but I think it illustrates a good concept. This particular author of, and I source my information from a lot of different places, y'all. But this one particularly said, take the time to look up schools that are listed where your listing is zoned to, and put that information in the MLS. You know, the school name, verify it, but I don't think that that we can actually put things like school ratings and things like that in there in the description within the MLS. Okay, so keep that in mind. But it is a good idea to have all the information like this available. Okay. When you are done with the transaction, thank the cooperating broker and agent for a successful transaction after the closing. Send them an email, give them a handwritten note. If you had a particularly good experience with an agent, send them a little, a gift card with a Starbucks, or a cupcake place or a cookie shop or something like that. Great information to be able to share with that agent. Okay, and give them a shout out on social media. Okay, talk about being a player in the community. Even though you had a co-op agent, give them a shout out. Say, great working with Agent Joe Blow on this one. Okay, so those are all to-dos. Those are things that we should do to become the type of agent that everyone wants to work with. Now, do we want to talk a little bit about the things that we don't want to do, the things that other agents do that make you not want to work with them? This is open dialogue, so let's talk about it a little bit. Who's had an experience that they particularly did not care for? Somebody's got something.
I've had an agent who actually say a number that we should, put the offer in at or above to,
Yep. And ironically, some agents don't even know that they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So if you ever get approached by somebody, maybe on one of your listings, you want to talk about some scripts of how to handle something like that when somebody's pressing you for a number on your listing or pressing you to put a particular number on your listing. Here's a simple script. Okay. Instead of talking specifics about this particular transaction, if an agent is pressing you've got a listing in the neighborhood and they're like, well, and it's listed for 250. Well, will 260 get it done? Well, I can't comment specifically on the numbers. However, I will tell you that when we priced this home, the comps seem to bear out a sales price where we listed it at. Okay. And as it turns out, the offers that we saw in the comps and the offers that are coming in are averaging at about 103% of the sales price. Okay. Did you just give anything away? You didn't give anything specific, but you told them what maybe an expectation might have been, or a rough idea. You have given indications of what would be an advantageous position for them, but you haven't reduced you haven't revealed any of your financial fiduciary responsibilities to your client. You've not given away the farm. Hopefully those little things help you. Just frame it back in terms of the comps and what's happening in the marketplace within that subdivision. Okay.
But for me 103%, I would just do the math, and if it was a $500,000 house, I would be like, okay, 3%. You're talking 500,000, so you're talking $15,000. Okay, yep. Fair enough.
You're just doing a little bit of math. You're just not giving away too much information too quickly.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, so things to not do when you're working with your co-op agent. I'm going to switch back to my screens here. All right. Don't be snarky. All right. Snarkiness doesn't get anybody anywhere. Don't make assumptions. Okay. Don't assume the worst of others. And I'm going to give you a great example of this. You don't want to assume the worst of others, but I kind of plan for it anyway. but I never say anything that would overtly indicate that I'm assuming the worst out of somebody. Okay. So let's talk about some examples. And I had one over the weekend, and it's kind of the genesis of this conversation that we're having today. But I just want to show you a text that I got. All right. So let me give you some context of this text. So I have a client, the listing went on hold because the home that she was moving to was actually taken off. We lost that contract. And so she had nowhere to go to. So the listing was on hold, went back to the other agents that had shown it before it went on hold. When she said that we're ready to go live again, solicited their offers, got one. And I had an agent that said that we negotiated the terms. I was getting it signed. The signing of the actual offer was taking a little bit too long. My client didn't realize how quickly it needed to be signed, and it said it expires at 10 o'clock. This was at about 10 minutes till 10 that I received this. It expires at 10, just so you're familiar. And then he came back and said, I can't help but think that your client is holding out, looking for another offer. If this one expires, my client is not willing to go above 252, and he will revoke, I think is what that is supposed to be, the escalation clause. There was an escalation clause up to 262. And then just as kind of a punctuation point on it, you only have 9 minutes remaining. So this was interesting. It was a little bit of a threat. Wouldn't you perceive it as that? Okay. So how would you have handled this? You're muted,
how I would have wanted to handle it would have been completely different how I would have handled it.
Did you have other offers?
Yes, I do have other offers.
Yeah, so then I wouldn't worry.
Total
about
3.
All right, then I wouldn't care. Depends on what the offer is, but I wouldn't maybe hesitate too much.
Okay. So I will tell you, human nature is what it is. So my human nature was, oh, you're going to get snarky and threaten me. I'm going to get snarky and threaten right back. And trust me, I had the text already written. And then I thought better of it. Okay. So I'll give you just a quick indication. I was like, okay, I don't want to play with this person. But up until this point, I had a pretty favorable opinion of him. And guess what? Their offer was going to net my client more money. And incidentally, it was a better offer. It had less risk than the other ones. And oh, by the way, it was going to net me the most commission too. So of course, I'm going to want to work with, that scenario. But cooler heads prevailed. And instead of a snarky text at 10 o'clock at night, pick up the phone, call the guy. Say, hey man, look, here's the deal. No intention whatsoever of trying to go around and get a better offer. If that was the case, if they were holding out for a better offer, I would have already removed the hold on the thing and opened it up for showings, but my client didn't want to do any of that. So by the time it was all over with, the guy was like, man, I'm so glad you called. I feel much better about this. Everything's cool. We're all good. Everything is good. And he was actually complimentary and said, I'm really looking forward to the transaction. But if I had responded the way my human nature wanted to, and the way that would not have been in the best interest of my client, I would have created an adversarial relationship. And starting from the day one of when we were supposed to get this thing binding, I would have created difficulty for the next, 3 weeks until this thing closes. So calm down, don't respond, don't show your proverbial behind, if you will. Take on a partner, call somebody, call me, call a partner, call your ambassador, your ambassador or friend in the office. This person just said this. How would you handle this? Okay. Take on a partner and let cooler heads prevail. Remember, you are in competition with everybody right up until the point where your clients are trying to work together, and then you become a cooperating broker. The key word in that is cooperate. Okay, you've got to work together with the other side to be able to get it closed. Okay, remember the national statistics. National Association of Real Estate says that what percentage of transactions actually make it to a closing table? Who knows?
I think it's 70.
It's right at 74, 75% of contracts that are written make it to the closing table. Agents that can't work together are probably the reason why a significant portion of those 26% don't make it to the closing table. Okay. My personal record, 98% of all contracts that I write are going to make it to the closing table. And it's because of working with that cooperative agents, coming up with creative solutions to difficult problems, and cooperating with the other side is what's going to make the difference between whether you close or whether you become one of the 26% that don't. All right. So I want there to be so many positive feedbacks amongst the cooperating agents that are working with Century 21 Connect Realty agents, that we all have positive feedback, that Mike has tons of those little cooperating broker reviews that get posted online. We have an entire process in place where we're calling the other broker on the other line to say, hey, how was it to work with Claire, or how was it to work with Leah this time? Go ahead, Claire.
That's what I was going to ask you, because the other agent that I'd been working with in my last transaction had said, I really want to write a review for you because you've done such an amazing job and wanted to thank me so much. So I didn't know how to actually do that. So when I was looking online, I think it was on something on Century 21 online.
Real Satisfied?
Yeah, it was on that they had said that I had to ask my broker to send it to them. So I emailed Mike, but I haven't heard anything back. So I'm not sure if I've done the right thing or not. So
okay, I'll help you with it. We'll figure it out.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. We got 2 minutes left. If you got any questions, now's the time.
So another agent can give you feedback on Real Satisfied too?
I don't know if they can do it on Real Satisfied. We have a process in place where somebody from the office here reaches out to that cooperating broker. There might be a way to get it in writing. Let's look at it together, Claire, and we'll figure it out.
I'm sure there is, because I've seen some guys on here who have had that like nice written, thing from a cooperating agent, or unless it's just something on work that I've seen Mike write, and maybe he's called and wrote it out or something.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. I think actually part of the process is Camille is actually following up with them. And using it as a pseudo recruiting opportunity too, but not a strong one. But that is where that information is coming.
Okay.
That Mike shares.
Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody. Like I said, the goal here is for the reputation amongst our agent community in Metro Atlanta to know that if they're getting a Century 21 Connect Realty agent, that they're getting a high quality professional agent that conducts themselves with decorum, with professionalism, with a certain set of standards and that they want to work with, and we have a solid reputation amongst the broker and agent community in Metro Atlanta. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back in business on Thursday morning. And I've got a handful of slots for coaching available on Wednesday afternoon and Thursday, I think. So if anybody needs, has not signed up, do it soon.
Thank
you,
you,
everybody. Have a great day.